Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Om Brahmanandam Param Sukadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatītam Gagana Sadrisham Tatvamasyadilakshyaṁ Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatītam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. Om. Adorations to Sadguru, who is Brahman, the giver of supreme bliss, embodiment of pure consciousness, one without a second, vast as the ether, infinite, eternal, beyond the three gunas and their modifications, the supreme preceptor. Yoga Vasishtha Nirvana Prakarana Purvardha, section 111. Sage Brihaspati teaches his son Kacha. As you follow this story, Kacha, son of Guru of gods, Brihaspati, developed this passion and became eager to attain enlightenment. In the beginning, Sage Brihaspati subjected his son to practice austerity and become qualified. By this time, Kacha is well qualified to receive profound instruction. Brihaspati explained, "O son, the ego in a human being is the essence of the chitta. When the ego is renounced, chitta is renounced automatically. True renunciation lies in renouncing the chitta. The whole world experience is in and through the thought waves of your mind. And this is the most profound insight that one must gain. Until then, sadhana remains immature. But when you gain the insight into the goal, what you are really looking for, what you are looking for is to go to sleep. Leap out of this world process. All day you work hard and do so many projects. But what are you really looking for? Get out of this whole world. And at that time, you go put your ego as sleepers under your bed. I'm joking. You get away from your own ego, which has been your identity in your daily life and in your practical life. Ego has been your identity in three planes. The plane of practical reality called Bhu, the plane of sentimental reality called Bhuva, the plane of understanding that creates another reality, the reality in three stages: practical, sentimental, based on understanding. Threefold experiences continue. They are the experiences of three lokas. They continue to wander in these three lokas whole day. But in the evening, in the night, you get out of it. But only thing is, The ordinary sleep that you have points to the goal, but it is not the goal. Goal is not just get some pills and go to sleep. Sleeping pill. Now the point is how to bring about the sleep-like peace even in your practical day-to-day life. How to gain that insight that ego I am not. How to let the ego dissolve and not go on putting a stress over this whole chitta. When ego dissolves, that means you go beyond the illusion of me and mine, ahamata and mamata. Then you go beyond the entire mental projection. And that point I will give you more and more. Because you have two types of reality blended. One is pratyaya bhav, where projections are transcended completely. Screen, same way as cinema show. Show goes on, but you are only, the entire show depends upon projections. So with projection, show goes on. When projection is withdrawn completely or understood as illusion, then what you are experiencing? The screen. Aham Brahmasmi. Backed up by projections, Aham Dehosmi. I am body, physical body, subtle body, causal body. When projection moves away, nothing exists, nothing belongs to me. I am neither mind nor body, immortal self am I. Aham Brahmasmi. The ego has arisen because one does not know the witnessing self within. One does not have the understanding that this ego identity that seems such a reality in you is not so pakka, so strong. It's illusion, delusional. When the witnessing self is known and realized, the ego is destroyed. In fact, the ego is not the ego in you is not a reality. It has arisen like an illusion, just as a snake appears when there is really a rope, or a mirage appears in desert. So this ego appears due to ignorance. The self is the only reality, devoid of beginning and end. So this type of affirmation has to be entertained by your mind each time when you practice meditation. And even while you are living your daily life, the practice of inquiry doesn't require your body has to be in one position. Sometimes your inquiry is more keen when you are doing your duty with great skill. But this is advanced state. A beginner requires all the disciplines. And the disciplines will continue. But what I am leading you to understand, that your internal reflective movement will not be confined only when you are doing sadhana. It goes on in a subtle way. spontaneous way. So this is a formation that must go deep into your personality. What is that? I am the self, not the ego. Devoid of beginning and end. There is always everything that you experience as a beginning and end. If your mind is very dull, then you don't understand that point. You want to hold on to the world, considering the world as real. But you don't realize what is this reality. It doesn't stay even for 2 moments. Every situation, even when I put my finger up, that's once forever. Next moment, the pose has gone away. And the previous pose will never come back. Exactly the same setting. So every moment, you are facing a new world. And that world goes on changing. It is not real at all. It is not permanent. But the only thing that's permanent, that is without beginning and without end, is your own pure consciousness, underlying your ego. Vast like the sky, the self alone exists everywhere and at all times. It's called Shashvat Satya. It is the self that shines through all beings. Egos are like the numerous waves of the ocean of the self. When turned to ego identity, you are identifying yourself as waves. In reality, you are the whole ocean. But to ego-based identity, you have become just a wave, struggling with many waves and constantly waving goodbye to a set of waves and coming back to the same situation again and again, the situation of the cycle of birth and death. No one can describe the nature of the ego and whence it arose, creating a veil between the seer and the seen, because the ego is not a reality. When ego becomes highlighted in you, then you are drawn to the illusion of time, space, causation. You're drawn to the illusion of seer, seen, and sight. That's called triad. Dream and waking, in both states, you are split up in 3. Subject, the dream subject, the dream world, and the dream experiences of pleasure and pain. This splitting up is highlighted by your ego. If only you rise beyond your ego, then you go beyond all the 3. And thereby a complete revelation. Aham Brahmasmi. O son, the petty notion that I am this body that has arisen out of my father and mother and is confined to time and space must be renounced. Your hereditary identity has to be renounced. Instead, entertain the thought, I am the self that's pure, eternal. This is the affirmation that's being highlighted, that an aspirant must allow the mind to be impressed by these affirmations, and allow the mind to be impressed again and again. Gada parinyaya. Don't let a single day pass. Otherwise, your mind is constantly asserting the misery you suffered yesterday, the horrible world that we are facing today, and the future that brings such atank, such fear. And that's what you are hammering on your mind again and again. And that intensifies bondage. The vichar process is strengthened by affirmation. Switching from the mental involvement with constant worries about the world, from that state to the state of vichar. That's the spiritual art for attaining enlightenment. Instead of thinking in the terms of time, space, causation, seer, seen, and sight, entertain the thought, I am the self that's pure. Pure refers to just like the sky is pure. Clouds come and go. The sky remains untouched, untainted. That state is called Shuddha. I'm eternal, everlasting, all-pervading, effulgent, and non-dual. Just as sap pervades a tree through its leaves, branches, flowers, and fruits, so Brahman pervades all that exists. This is the term ek ras. The whole tree is sustained by sap movement. And the sap movement is the spirit behind the tree that allows the tree to grow. So the entire personality of yours is like a tree. And the sap behind it is the self. In other words, that Atman, the Absolute, is the reality behind your practical world, the world of practical reality, behind your sentiments, behind your thoughts of understanding. It is the reality that supports the illusion of the three lokas. You are that Brahman, not this illusory ego. Sri Vasishtha continued, O Rama, after listening to his father, Kacha practiced the spiritual inquiry. He discovered the nature of the self by renouncing the ego. He became enlightened. Section 112. The parable of a false being. Mithya Purusha. The parable is illustrating the role of your ego. The ego is a false being. But let your mind be entertained by this story. Sri Vasishtha continued, O Rama, just as Kacha, the son of sage Brihaspati, became free from egoism and brought about the termination of the world process, so may you also abide in this self, renouncing all illusions. O Rama, know this ego to be false. Do not be sustained by egoistic vision. Just as horns do not exist on a hair, I'm not talking about this hair, H-A-R-E. So is this ego non-existent. When the very ego does not exist, then who is there to be born and to die? Who is there to gather the fruits of illusion from the vast sky of consciousness? It is from the fertile soil of the ego that the sprouts of subtle desires grow. This ego identity is the basis of your vasanas, subtle desires, klishta vasanas, giving rise to the crop of the world process. But when the ego is negated, the world process ceases to be. When the ego is negated, you exist as the self, indivisible, devoid of thoughts and imaginations of the mind, all-pervading, omnipotent, omnipresent, pure consciousness. You become subtler than the subtlest. This is just simply allegorical. When you look at the cinema show, what is subtler than the subtlest? In the show, there are many illusions about subtlest objects that are there. But subtler than any show that you are experiencing is the screen. The screen is subtler than the subtlest. And that screen type of reality is your pure consciousness. No matter what you experience, experiences are reflections in pure consciousness. And that's what you are, Aham Brahmasmi. All your experiences are like clouds moving in the sky in different dispositions, becoming storms, becoming soft, fleecy. Clouds play different roles, but they don't touch the sky. The sky remains subtler than the subtlest. O great Rama, great armed Rama, listen to this enlightening parable about a false being, Mithya Purusha. There was a false being obstructed by illusion. He possessed the intellect of a child, Mudha Buddhi, dull-wit mind, and was distracted due to ignorance. He was born in an uninhabited place and lived in the region of the void. This is the parable to illustrate the illusion of your ego. Your ego is the Mithya Purusha. Along with this story, I am giving you the mystical meaning. There was no one other than that being. That being is Advaita, absolutely non-dual. I'm not talking about the Supreme Being. The absolute reality is non-dual. One day, this being thought within himself, now turning to now the ego identity. Instead of the identity I am the Absolute. Led by ignorance, one has developed ego identity. It is ego identity that is Mithya Purusha. And now the story is, this strange being develops this thought within himself. The sky is very dear to me. Let me protect this possession of mine with great care. Let me secure this space. Simple point. What's most comfortable is being spacious. So why don't we control this space? So he wants to catch this space and secure it. Thus thinking, he made a house to confine the sky and protect it. But as time passed, the sky was destroyed by the inclemencies of the weather. Elsa came in. What else? It is the self that shines through all beings. Egos are like the numerous waves of the ocean of the self. Believing the sky to be lost, the false being began to grieve, crying, "Alas, my dearest house ether, you are dead. Where have you gone within a single moment? How beautiful you were." Then the false being thought up another plan to keep the sky under his care. He dug a well, thinking he'll be well always. This space will be saved inside the well. The first one was Grihakash, the space, the ether or the space in the house. The second is Kupakash, the space in a well. And rejoiced at seeing the sky bound within the walls of the well. But even this well was destroyed in time. He thought everything would be well. He again wept and cried bitterly for the loss of the sky. Then he created a pot and delighted at the idea of keeping the sky confined to the pot. It's called pot ether. But that pot too came to an end, and he suffered intense grief at the loss of the pot ether. He created many other devices to capture the sky and keep it under his protection. But he did not succeed. He continued to move from misery to misery, created by his own illusion. This is just a parable, a mystic illustration. Section 113, the meaning of the false parable, the false Purusha. Sri Vasishtha continued, "O Rama, know that the false being to be the ego, ahamkar, it has arisen out of Maya, cosmic illusion. It is non-existent. Yet it considers itself the self and enters into the illusion of desires and karmic involvements. It's ego-based identity that builds up three knots: avidya, kama, and karma. Karma is being involved with the world of birth and death, led by karma. Kama, restricted desires, subconscious desires, vasanas, and avidya, the veil of ignorance. All the three are sustained by egoism. If ego melts, then all the three will gradually move away. Therefore, two great methods have been presented by the scriptures: bhakti and jnana. Bhakti, if you secure bhakti, if you secure your love, you want to have your love fulfilled. But where will be absolute fulfillment? If you find the most ideal lover, who is the source of absolute love, sweetest love, the self within you. Atmanastu kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati. For the sake of self, all becomes dear. So, if your mind were to turn to Ishwar Bhakti, beginning with your Ishta Devata, leading your mind to God and being an instrument in divine hand, if you follow this whole plan of bhakti, automatically pathway to liberation will become automatically spontaneous for you. And that pathway is a pathway of jnana. Jnana is the process of affirmation and understanding. Nothing exists. Nothing belongs to me. I am neither mind nor body. Immortal self am I. That understanding becomes absolutely clear. This ego is born in the world of void because this world of time and space is sustained by ignorance. When ignorance is removed, this world is seen as Brahman. In fact, this ego is non-existent because it arises out of nothingness. Ego arises out of ignorance, and ignorance is nothingness. Many greatest of troubles arise out of misunderstanding. But where is that misunderstanding? It understands on no leg. It has no existence. Figure that out. So correct your misunderstanding by the process of understanding. That's the central feature of jnana, wisdom. It's ego that develops the illusion, I am the self, and tries to protect the self, which is like the ether and the all-pervading space, by creating different bodies of gods, demons, men, animals, and other beings. Every embodiment is an erroneous effort to protect the ether of the self. Loss of the body is considered a pathetic development. Loss of the body is the loss of the pot. The pot ether is untouched. But just as the loss of a house does not affect the house ether, so the loss of the body does not destroy the self. The ego assumes different forms. The individual soul. Now, the illustrations were only of house and well and pot. But understand more extensively, every illusion that you are entertaining is like trying to capture the pot ether, trying to capture the ether. And therefore, all this multiplicity that you experience in the world, consisting of individual soul, intellect, mind, chitta, maya, prakriti, thoughts, desires, time, space, and all the names and forms of the world are just different manifestations of the ego. It is led by your ego identity that you go after studying all this, all these terms I have said. The entire scripture and all the literature become important on the basis of ego identity. If ego identity is not there, where are the scriptures? Where is the guru? Where is the sadhana? Where is bondage? Where is release? When the ego is eliminated by intuitional vision, all these differences vanish. Even as a dream vanishes upon waking, Brahman alone exists. Driven by the ego, a human being is ever concerned with protecting the self. This worrisome life continues. Always you are trying to protect the self. What will happen to me? How can I live always long? In that type of mental involvement, what you are actually doing, you are doing the ridiculous thing that the Mithya Purusha was doing. He builds the house of karmas, the well of unconscious impressions, the pot of embodiment, and manifold other forms of desires to encompass the self. But he continues to experience misery after misery. His efforts are all useless. There is no need to protect the self by creating the walls of mental illusion. The self is in fact the sustainer of the ego and all that it has created. And with this I will conclude for today. Om Ram 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 Om Namah Shivaya Om Namah Shivaya Om Namah Shivaya Om. Prayer for shower of Karunamaya Ras grace of God over all of you, with the blessings of Shakti, Bhakti and Mukti. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushti Vardhanam Urvarukma Bandhana Mrityor Mukshiyama Amritat. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina Sarve Santu Niramaya सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मां कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्। ओम शांति शांति शांति। हरि ओम तत्सत्।